Yo, what's going on? Before I begin, I just want to say this right off the rip. A lot of times, us 90s dudes are just, people that lived in the 90s, the 90 era, the 90s era, we have somewhat of a, like a chip on our shoulder, we act as though that our era was the best and that everything is so bad now, like everything sucks, and I mean, I'm gonna be real with you to a certain extent, it's the truth, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, this is a new day and time, and we have to respect this generation, and what they have, whether it be good or bad, But I do want to go back and reminisce on how things were in the 90s in comparison to now. You know what I'm saying? And just to show y'all, like, the reason why a lot of us 90s dudes and 90s chicks, you know what I'm saying, are just overall the 90s generation, or Generation X, the reason why, we feel a certain kind of way. So I'm gonna bang it off like this. A couple of days ago, I was on Instagram and I saw these women, having conversations about dating, and they came flat out and was like on some stuff like, yo, before we even get to the date, like we get into the date, I need you to DM a picture of your thing, you know what I'm saying? She was talking about, the vitamin D, if you get my drift. And it shocked me, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, yo, like I remember a time it wasn't even like that. Dating wasn't like, yo, I need to see your D before, we even get the date on or whatever. It's crazy to me. But see, like me, if I was dating in this day and time, I'd be like, sure, I'll show you my D, but guess what? I get to sniff that punani too. Real talk. If I'm gonna show you my D, my vitamin D, you know what I'm saying? I get to sniff that punani, and if it smells like salmon lady, the date is off. Real talk. But it's like the dating game is so chopped and screwed nowadays, to the point where it's like, yo, what are y'all really doing it for? What are you all actually going on a date for? You just going on a date just to, do the Instagram, take pictures and record and all the rest of that stuff? Because like when we went on a date in the 90s, it was fun. It was fun, and it wasn't all about, yo, you need to take me to Ruth Chris and this and that and so forth. Nah, it was straight up, and you can laugh all you want. You can laugh all you want, but back in the days, Applebee's was popping. Real talk. They had the drink specials and all of that. And back in the days, the Cheesecake Factory, I said back in the days, the Cheesecake Factory was just, it was popping. It was new. I just don't understand it. I just don't understand it. We actually went on a date. We didn't have to pay for the female's nails, the hair, the this, the that. And, it was you being a gentleman far as you paying for the date, but not for all of the rest of that shit. Paying for rent, you know what I'm saying? The light bill, the phone bill, all of that. I'm wifing you up. That's wifey material. If you wifey material, that's something different. But these women don't even want to cook, clean, and do none of that. They just be like, yo, I got that good punani. How is it that all y'all women got good punani? That's false. That's a lie. You know how many bras I done popped? Straight up. And I can tell you, very few had that good punani. That's real talk. So how is it in 2023 going on 2024 that every female, in particular online, social media, got that good punani? That's a lie. So the dating scene, from what I'm seeing, it sucks. You know what I'm gonna go on to next, right? I'm gonna go on the music. Straight up, the music was different in the 90s. We had a selection, a variety rather, of music. You know what I'm saying? We had slow jams, R&B music. We had reggae. We had hip hop. We had house music. We had go-go music. The list goes on. The list goes on, man. And during that time, in the 90s, everybody put their best foot forward. Now it's like, man, anybody could be a singer. Anybody could be a rapper. Whereas back in the days, I'm going to tell you what separated the artists from regular people. You had to have star power. And I know what y'all going to say when I say this, right? But I'm going to tell you what's the telltale heart of letting me know that this genre of music it ain't nothing compared to the 90s, because y'all only have like one megastar in each like genre of music. Like, who would have known? Seriously, this is my word. Back in the days in the 90s, who would have known this little chick that was part of Destiny's Child called Beyonce would be like top dog? The reason why I'm saying that is because there were so many more better singers than her. Better singers than her. You know what I'm saying? Who would have known, like, in the 90s, going into to now, you know what I'm saying, this generation, who would have known that hip-hop would have ever fell off like it did? And that hip-hop now, I ain't going to say I mean no disrespect, because it's the truth. Why am I going to say I don't mean no disrespect? No, it's the truth. Hip-hop now is for the LGBTQ community and drug heads. That plain and simple. That plain and simple. Who would have known that? I would have never known that hip hop would have taken a course of this in this direction. You know what I'm saying? Because back in the days in the 90s, it was a very masculine genre of music. Very much so. Straight up. I could go on with sports. You know what I'm saying? Here we go with this whole thing with LeBron being the greatest, being the GOAT over, you know, Kobe and Michael and all of it. I'm not going to get into it. I will say this though. LeBron James is the king. He is the king of all kings when it comes to this generation. But you know how many celebrity basketball players we had? How many? And they were good. They were good in the 90s. We had Patrick Ewing. We had Michael Jordan. We had the list goes on, man. Dominique Wilkins. The list goes on. Charles Barkley. The list goes on. We didn't just have one particular basketball player that was the king of all kings. I mean, of course, Michael, but there was competition in the sports and in basketball. Now, NBA is trash. And I don't even want to get on in the NFL. And you gotta factor in this. This is going to be the headbanger for you all to recognize that our era, the 90s era, was greater than this era, is because not only did our football players, not only were our football players and basketball players great, but they had shoes, sneakers that came out during that time. Our era, or our time, started, you know, the whole thing with basketball and football players coming out with their own sneakers. And y'all still wearing the retro sneakers till this day. It bugs me out how some, not all, some of you in this generation will sit back and say, man, you know, you an old head and this and that and so forth. But you're wearing everything you're listening to our 90s music. You're copying everything that we did in the 90s. So we old heads, but yet it's still y'all jacking our style. Y'all jacking our music. That's crazy to me. I was looking at the games just now, and I was like, you know what, man, fuck this. I'm gonna go ahead and just do a video. The NFL season sucks. It's trash. This is the worst out of all the years I've looked at football. This gotta be the worst fucking season I ever seen in my goddamn life. Gotta be. I am not looking forward to the playoffs. I am not looking forward to seeing the Super Bowl. Looking at the Super Bowl. I'm not. Real talk. Real talk. We didn't have, you know what I'm saying, things that gadgets, cell phones. We didn't have social media. We didn't have the internet that took our minds away from real life. So during the summers, even when it was cold, we would hang out, you know what I'm saying, kick it with our friends. It'd be girls around, you know what I'm saying, we playing basketball and all of that shit. It'd be girls around, we chit-chatting and this and that and so forth. People were out and about. I don't see that in this day and time. I don't see kids out in the neighborhood playing like how we used to. I don't see kids riding their bikes. I don't see kids playing basketball, playing street ball. I don't see none of that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna say that our generation was walking in the woods and you know what I'm saying, dissecting worms and shit like that. We were in tune with nature. That's not what I'm saying. But we were out and about. And yes, true indeed, we had our fair share of guns, violence, and drugs and all the rest of that shit. But it was nothing compared to this generation. The worst drug that we encountered was crack. Wasn't nobody popping pills or none of that. None of that. These goose feathers coming out of my jacket. But yeah, man. Fashion, we weren't wearing tight ass pants. I'm not gonna lie, I don't want to go back to the 90s though. I'm gonna be real with you. I can't rock and roll with them baggy ass damn, pants and shit like that. But at least, no, seriously, this is my word, you know what I'm saying? We wore boxer briefs, or we just wore boxes and shit. At least we wore clothes so our dicks can breathe, you know what I'm saying? Our testicles and penises could breathe and shit. Y'all wearing them tight ass shit, you know what I'm saying? Straight up, men are wearing them tight ass pants. You know what I'm saying? Y'all suffering from yeast infection. You gotta put your underwear in the microwave and shit like that. I know some of y'all gonna be like, where the hell you get that from? I got that shit from sex education. They would be like, yo, if you women, you women got a yeast infection, put your panties in the microwave. But y'all dudes are doing that. It's crazy, man. And y'all wonder why, like people such as myself and others that come from that era, we walk around all grumpy and mean and upset. Straight up. Now I know. Now I understand why, you know what I'm saying, my parents are the way that they, were the way, I say are the way that they are. And my grandparents. Because every generation, it just seems like shit just get worse. But this generation right here, it is what it is. This is, let me tell you something. I say this generation is the end. The end. And literally it is. You all are Gen Zs and they're going back. They're going backwards. Now you got Gen Alphas or Alpha. And this is the beginning of the ending of what? Humanity as we know it. Whereas now, we're about to embark on some shit that we never gonna come back from. And that is when man meets machine, or rather becomes one. We are in the generation where AI, or rather artificial intelligence, is literally taking over. We didn't have none of that shit back in the days. We didn't. We weren't worried about no damn computers or no robots taking over and this and that and so forth. Taking our jobs. We weren't worried about automation and shit like that. We weren't worried about hyperinflation and the gas, the price of gas and food and clothing and everything going up. Hell, let me tell you something, in the 90s, I know this to be a fact. Ask me out of all my years, how many years have I worked? I ain't gonna say a real job, because whenever you working, you working a real job. I'm talking about working for someone else. Or I'll say the man. Ask me. Out of all my years of my life, I only worked, I'm talking about, you got to combine all those temporary services that I worked for, temp jobs and shit like that. I only worked probably possibly altogether about 3 years of my life. Why? Because I always hustled in the 90s. If you had a hustle going on, please, you could eat off of that. You can eat off of that. And yeah, true indeed, I still get picked on till this day. Because people think that they know me. You know what I'm saying? Because I told people my story. Yeah, I sold bootleg tape movies back in the days. And they'll say some shit like, well, he probably still selling bootleg CDs. Come on, nobody buys bootleg CDs no more, DVDs. Stop it. But guess what? When I did do it, I fed myself. I was able to stand on my own 2 feet. I was going to New York twice out of the week. Getting re-up and partying at the same time. I had a good motherfucking time when I was selling them bootleg CDs and movies and whatever else I got my hands on. Because in the 90s, all you needed was a nice solid hustle. And if you weren't that type of dude, if you weren't a hustler, nothing like that, all you needed was like a decent job. In the 90s, if you was making about $10, $50, $11 an hour, that was great. You had enough money to take care of you and if you had a child. Because things weren't so expensive. I remember when see, I'm not trying to be like old school, but I gotta say it like that. I remember when gas was like $1 and change. I remember when I used to go to the gas station. I never looked, no, seriously, this is my word. I always wondered, this is just how naive I was. But then again, think about it. That's just how much the price of gas didn't count to us at that time. I used to be like, why they got $1.18, $1.29 per gallon? What the fuck is that? We just went to the gas station and we just pumped $5 and we would go to the club. Yo, that's my word. If you had a Toyota or Honda, you could motherfucking drive from North Carolina to Virginia and back off of $5 of gas. We never looked at the damn prices of gas. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about back in the days when McDonald's had the real dollar menu and you really had a real dollar menu. When you had Big Mac value meals and shit. When they said supersize it, you couldn't even hardly finish the damn meal. When you said yo, let me get that supersize, yo. Everything was different back in the days. Everything was better. The movies were good. The TV shows were good. It was a time that we used to rush home to see the latest Michael Jackson video. There was a time when Bill Cosby came on and the whole family was surrounded around the TV. It's real talk. There was a time where, man, you knew each other on the block. Yo, I've been living in this neighborhood for goddamn 5 years. And I can tell you, I know a handful of people on my block. But yet and still, I see them every damn day. There was a time where you could go to your next door neighbor and say, yo, let me get a cup of sugar. Or let me get some flour. Oh yeah, by the way, listen, I'm getting home late. You know what I'm saying? I got to work a late shift. So I'm going to be home like an hour and a half late. Is it possible when my child gets off the bus that she could come stay with you until I get home? There was a time when children could walk up and down the street by themselves without somebody taking them. There was a time where black women and black men got along with one another and loved one another. It pains me. I don't know if you all follow that shit, you know what I'm saying, on Instagram or whatever, but I follow these pages where they show, like, back in the days, like Howard Homecoming, or, you know what I'm saying, like college, HBCU homecomings and just different events that black people had in the 90s and shit, Freaknik and all of that. And it pains me to see the smiles on black women's faces when in the 90s and they were recording it, you know what I'm saying? And I'm looking at that shit and seeing just how we related to one another back in the days. And how back in the days we knew our true enemy. We knew who he was. But now we're warm with one another. That shit is crazy to me. And some may say, well, man, you act like you want to go back in the days or whatever. Yo, listen, I can't do it. I got to push forward. But oftentimes I reminisce. And I try to talk to the youth, to get them to see that, yo, y'all are headed in the wrong direction. That in the direction that you all are going to, there's no hope. That our music in the 90s was revolutionary. And if there was apartheid, in Africa, if there was something going on, social issues, we would rap about it, we would sing about it. Our generation tried their best, which is Generation X. We tried our best to make a difference. But this generation, it seems like That's all y'all do is just obey. And there's no resistance. I would have never thought in the 90s that I would be on a thing called YouTube and people would say, yo man, this dude be keeping it real. It's gotten to that point. It's gotten to that point that I'm one of the only voices that so-called keeps it real, and I'm not really saying too much. The real shit that I want to talk about would be off camera instead of on. But nowadays, we ain't got Malcolm, we got Charleston White. We ain't got Queen Latifah, we got Sexy Red. That's where we at. That's where we at. Yes, that's exactly where we at. Nowadays, if men are not trying to be women, they sure as hell not acting like it. They on TikTok swinging their hips and all the rest of that shit like women do. And it's crazy to me, man. It's crazy. I don't see any good coming from this generation. I just don't. You know what I'm saying? The only good that I see coming from this generation is this. And y'all may look at it as being bad, but this is the way I see it. The bubble's gonna pop. We are witnessing the end of her. And who is she? Called America. This is what your generation is gonna be known for. That y'all are gonna get the opportunity, as well as myself, to see the end. Because ain't nothing positive about all of this shit that's going on. It's just straight negative. You know what I'm saying? And just like any in any civilization, you know what I'm saying, when all things are bad, it has to come to an end because there has to be some type of balancement. But it's a shame, man, because there was potential. You know what I'm saying? And just things just took a straight left instead of a right. You know? And now we're headed down that slippery slope. And eventually, we're definitely going to see the end. Don't know exactly when, but I know for a fact this shit ain't going to go on no longer than 2 to 5 years longer. This is it. Yo, I'm out.